Guys, did you hear about this?
No.
Yeah, thank you, Moses. So apparently, this list of unattractive hobbies that men do just went viral a couple weeks ago on Twitter, formerly Twitter, now known as X. Thank you, Elon.
X gonna give it to you.
Oh my God.
Thanks, Moses. Keep doing what you're doing. Work it if you work. If you work it. So I thought it would be a great idea if we talked about it. First of all, I question the validity of a lot of these things.
I feel like this. I looked at this list earlier.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's made up.
Yeah, it feels like it's made up.
Yeah.
But there's some measure of truth to it,
Yeah.
I could say. Because,
I think that the concept is interesting and good to explore, but yeah, the list seems like bullshit.
Who are you, by the way?
I'm sorry?
Who are you, by the way?
It doesn't matter who I am. I walked in here earlier today and no one threw me out. I've been drinking alcohol the whole time, and you're the first one with the balls to say something about who am I? I've been hanging out here and drinking for nearly 2 hours, smoking Moses cigarettes. Very nice to meet you, by the way. And that's all that really matters. It doesn't matter who I am.
Dan, it doesn't matter who he is.
Yeah.
Oh, he's Dwayne Johnson.
My name is Hunter Biden, and you will address me as such.
Justin, how you
Moses,
doing?
by the way, I do want that cocaine.
I just want the lighter back.
Okay, well, that's all right. We'll talk about it.
Hi, I'm here. Yeah, no, happy to be here. Yeah, this, I'm sure we'll go over the list that was posted because it is funny. Like, there are some very valid, but there's also some weird hobbies on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Is podcasting on there?
Oh, no. We'd have to tear this place down. Welcome, everybody, to the Loud and Drunk podcast. We will be talking about that annoying hobbies, unattractive hobbies, and all that stuff. But before we get started, I want to encourage you to join us at our home base, loudanddrunk.com. You can catch up on the podcast, purchase some cool merch, and rightfully harangue Moses because he just likes to pop in and, interrupt me while I'm trying to lead us into the podcast. You have anything to say to defend yourself, Moses, while I, sick the listeners on you?
No.
Okay, great. So that is our contact page. So you can harangue Moses via that. So bookmark loudanddrunk.com today. Also, subscribe to this podcast. We are on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and Rumble. Make sure that you smash that like button. Leave us a comment. Share this podcast with your friends and get in on the conversation by joining us on social media. We are at Loud and Drunk on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. All right, guys, let me punch up this list here.
Please.
Because people went crazy over this a couple of weeks ago. So the long and short of it is, you couldn't even find who actually, I think this was from TikTok, and it just made its way onto X.
Yeah.
So the number one least attractive hobby for men, according to women, is playing video games. So that's, Moses, you're already in trouble here.
I don't get to play video games that much anymore.
I'll say this. I'm sorry, Moses, but women play video games a lot as well.
Yeah.
Most of those Twitch streamers are women.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like just right out of the gate, and I say this as somebody personally, as you guys know, I don't play video games. I used to very much so enjoyed it. I feel like that's this is the first thing that kind of led me to this thinking where I was like, who actually made this list? Because although I find video games to be I don't know, I think as an adult, perhaps a little bit of an obnoxious hobby, there's so many women who are very into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I can say, though, is I did ask some women what they thought the most annoying, unattractive hobby they thought was for men. And a number of them did say video games.
Yeah.
I think it's also because, out of all of this, I think it's the most popular hobby that men have.
Well, yeah.
Well, out of this list. We'll get to the rest of the list, of course. But, it is a very popular activity for men. And so that's going to come up if you're just starting the day, let me boot up the freaking Xbox or PlayStation, and you just start going, are you going to mow the fucking lawn today there, George, or whatever the fuck your name happens to be?
It's probably George.
Yeah, in regards to the video games thing, I do know somebody, they're a couple, and the dude will essentially do that. Wake up, here's my cup of coffee, turn on the video games, and then he's playing till 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And I can definitely see how that could be very annoying if that's all you're doing.
Yeah.
Video games are very immersive.
They're very immersive, and they give you that sensation
that
you're accomplishing something despite the fact that you are not.
You're doing nothing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also at the same time, though, to defend video games a bit, to me, it's no different than watching a movie or reading a book.
I agree. They're all sedentary activities. And I think that's what sets them apart from many other hobbies that might lend a little bit more physical. And that's kind of where I was going to go, not to jump the gun too much on it.
No worries.
But as far as the annoying hobbies that women perceive that way. I feel like it's anything that you do that isn't the work that they want for you to be doing.
Yeah.
Or,
You
or
know?
spending
So,
time not with them.
So like it's not like, I mean, like our video games, like if somebody said to me like if I said to like one of you guys like, hey, I really need you to do this thing for me, and you're like, yeah, I'll totally do that, and then I called you up like halfway through the day and I'm like, yeah, you're like 4 hours late, what's up? And you're like, oh man, I was like, I was building a canoe and I just completely lost track of time. I'd be like, okay, that's fair, but like get over here. If you told me like, oh yeah, sorry, I lost track of time because I was playing COD, I'd be like, well, fuck you, man.
Yeah.
Like I told you I needed you.
Now, what if I was building a canoe in a video game?
Oh, I don't know, like mowing the virtual grass kind of thing. Yeah.
There's
I'd probably
all sorts of simulators out there.
yeah.
That's got to be, well, I mean, that's got to be better than a lot of games that are out there now.
For sure.
I mean, it might teach you actually how to build a canoe. That'd be a very helpful,
honestly, that'd be great.
skill.
I don't know how to do that.
I've been loving that game Stray, where you get to be a cat going. Yeah,
You've told me about that.
would.
it's adorable.
That is really cute, though. I want to disagree with them, but
I get my cats meowing at the screen because there's a button for meowing.
I do have to.
that's so cute.
I do have to say, though, a number of women do find playing video games to be unattractive. That takes a good date off the table because you can bring women out to, there are not too many anymore, but the arcade. There's one in Asbury Park that if you pay like, I don't know what the actual fee is, but I think it's like something like
The pinball
$20 for like 2 hours or something like that.
I think that I get where you're going with that, though, but I do want to disagree because I think that when I think of gaming,
Yeah.
I don't think that that's going to an arcade. I think of gaming as being like something that you do on your sofa.
That's,
And,
that's,
whereas like going to an arcade, I don't think that like if somebody said to me like, yeah, I like to go to the arcade sometimes, like even if they were like, I go like one, like every couple of days, I wouldn't be like, oh, that guy's a gamer.
yeah.
I'd just be like, that guy just likes arcades.
I don't want to get off the reservation too far here,
Right.
but I hate that term, by the way. Like
What?
gaming and gamer and all that stuff.
Yeah,
I can't
agree,
stand it with that because I've always believed gaming to be gambling.
Oh, yeah. fair.
And so when
Yeah,
you change
I
to
can see
like,
that.
I don't know what we're talking about anymore. Is it gambling or is it actual like video games?
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? So
Yeah.
like, that's my own little hang up on that. It's like, no, I would rather just be called like, no, I play video games. I know it's longer, but at least then it's clear what you're fucking doing.
Yeah.
It is weird. Like, I never really thought about it too much, but like, yeah, I'm a gamer.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
Yeah,
that's
Somebody
what-
said that to me.
That's what kind of like, and that is how you can tell that it is a hobby as well, because it's like, you can be like, oh yeah, I like building furniture sometimes, or like I'm a woodworker. Like both of these things are the same.
Yeah.
But it's kind of how you perceive it.
Sure.
I've had a guy one time when I was living up, around here, and he just like, I've never interacted with this man before, and he just said, hey man, you game? I'm like, for what? What are we doing? Are we going out like looking for trim or something? Like,
Are you hitting
Dan
me?
starts telling unzip.
You game foot is dead.
all right, you want to move on to the next one?
Yeah.
Second on the list is collecting figurines.
Oh. Man, Moses is triggered as fuck.
It's the same thing as women collecting like precious moments or those fucking those little things. It's
Yeah.
just minor superheroes.
Do they still? I mean, my mom. What the hell were they called? Hummels or something?
No,
She collected those things.
My mother did the precious moments for a bit.
I don't know. And you got a bunch of fucking Funko Pops. I think that shit's gay. The only thing that I ever collected was what the fuck were they called? I don't even remember now.
I don't
No,
know.
that sounds so much better though.
Beanie Babies. That's where I'm at. I still got a fortune of them. You want to talk about that later?
Yes.
Oh.
If you define fortune by negative, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I'm in debt. Yes. I invested a lot of money in these Beanie Babies, but I'll tell you, I'm going to be reaping that whirlwind pretty soon.
Yeah.
You guys will see.
Someday.
back around.
Someday.
I would say this one is fairly less common. It is like, people do collect figurines and things of that nature, but I think this is significantly less common than playing video games.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, video
mean-
games is such a easy access
Yeah.
type thing for a lot of people, and I only really know 2 people that collect figurines.
I think that I think first of all, the figurines word I think is troublesome there.
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, again, it's like figurine, just that's almost anything.
Yeah.
So like when I hear figurine, I'm imagining one of these little porcelain things that the that grandma's got kind of scenario. But it's like any type of thing like that. Again, you like Funko Pops, Mr. Moses. But I think that like collecting in general should probably just like, it doesn't need to be figurines. I just think like collecting of stuff. Because it's all kind of the same
like there's
fucking thing.
guys who collect cars. They just have an assload of cars in their yard that are just like collecting rust.
Yeah, it's collecting. I think that's like a thing by itself. That's the hobby. The hobby isn't like what the fucking thing is.
That's true, but then I think to think like a woman very briefly here, then that reflects on them because women collect things as well.
Not Beanie Babies. Though.
They don't collect. I mean, they might, but they might collect things like. So that's why they maybe say figurines, because that seems a little bit more childish.
I only started with Beanie Babies because I knew it was the most heterosexual thing that I could collect.
Well placed. Well placed.
Yeah.
And one day you'll get the whirlwind, as he said.
Yeah. Then I cash in, Dan. And then I retire.
It's funny to say, like, even negate the figurine thing, just collecting in general.
Yeah.
Like between so video games, I look at that as like that's like an active time suck type thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Whereas like I look at the collecting thing, and I'm not a collector myself. I don't have attachments to things like that. But like it's not like an active thing. It's kind of like a passive hobby, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you're not you're typically
you're
not
probably
spending hours at any given time doing it. Like or daily. Like you're not going and shopping and buying.
No.
Where video games, you're sitting down playing for at least a couple hours.
You're doing it while you're doing it. Yeah.
There is a time dump for video games, but I think the common thread with these two is the spending of money.
Oh, money for sure.
So I think that a woman would see this and like, oh, you're spending a lot of money on video game consoles and video games and or figurines. And so therefore you're not going to be the quote unquote provider that you could be because you're wasting money on these things that they deem childish.
Well, wait till he cashes in all those Beanie Babies. Then he's going to be laughing all the way to the bank.
That's right. This is why I'm not married yet.
I mean, hilarious. There's a famous picture I remember of like this nasty divorce going on, and they had like hundreds of Beanie Babies, if not like thousands, on the floor, where they're both on the floor picking out and arguing over who gets what Beanie Baby.
I thank you for the grace that you didn't say that this was me.
And that couple had like children, and they're like, I don't care who gets this, but I get this, bicentennial teddy bear.
It was a tricentennial.
Whatever.
Bicentennial teddy bear. All right, moving on. This is where it starts to seem a little more ridiculous because guys do play video games.
Yeah.
Some guys collect figurines. Number 3, magic tricks.
That one took me a little sideways.
Yeah. Who are these women encountering?
All right, so this is my opinion on that, and one, I will predicate this by saying that I do think that this poll was made up by some douchebag on the internet.
Yeah.
But let's pretend that it's real.
Sure.
There's got to be a confirmation bias here.
Yeah.
Right? There's some sort of a bias happening. And so I really did think about this a lot today, more than I should have. And what I was thinking is that, like, you got to think about first of all, who's being polled, but we don't know who that is. It's just women at large in America, right? So then, who are the people who are answering the poll?
Yeah.
And it's women who are displeased with their man's hobbies. And then there's a whole like plethora of women. I would like to think that it's like, like the women that we know in general at large, friends, romantic lovers, etc., wives, where it's like maybe they wouldn't even answer this poll, because they've got their gripes about you with your Funko Pops, Moses, Justin with your, I don't know, murder. And, but then there's a lot of women that would choose not to answer this. So then the confirmation bias would be is that there's a select group of women out there where they were asked, and instead of like, your guys' wives, the women that we know, Dan, instead of those people, that there's these women out there and they're like chomping at the bit to voice what they hate about their partner. And these women are banging magicians. And that's the only thing that I can think of.
So that leads me to the thought of, well, how did this magician get into her pants?
Yeah.
Was it the magic?
It was the magic, dude. Yeah, exactly.
He just appeared there. What's this behind your vagina? Oh, it's my penis.
Guys, I have to say, magicians are poking up more and more in our podcast.
Honestly, this is the second one in a row.
Oh, wow, yeah.
This is okay. Next one. Is this a hobby?
It's not.
Online trolling.
That's not a hobby.
It's not a hobby.
I mean, I guess you could say like
Yeah.
if you do it or not. If it's your thing, then it is a hobby. But online trolling is not a hobby.
It's not a hobby.
Yeah.
You might as well just say being an asshole
Right.
Yeah.
is a hobby.
Yeah.
Which, I mean,
Now that
if
I'm
you
saying
work
it out
hard
loud.
enough- yeah.
It just reminds me of the Clerks 2 when he's flaming that crippled guy about going down to get his mail, and he was bitching, and Randall is just flaming the hell out of him, and Dante's like, get back to work. He's like, oh, but
Oh yeah.
I'm just
yeah.
getting a rise at, you know.
Yeah.
You really have a way with stories, Moses.
I think that, I mean, on the one hand, I want to say that being a dick is not a hobby.
Yeah.
But certainly you can make a hobby out of anything that you have a
Sure. Yeah.
passion for. So there is a gray area
I
there.
saw that on there. My brain went to like, guy gets home from work. He's like, all right, now for my me time. He like cracks his knuckles
Yeah,
and sits
and, like,
down at
gets
the
into it.
keyboard.
Let's get to the
He's
boards.
like, types out fag, in all caps. on you,
Rolls
on a,
up
on a YouTube
sleeves.
comment.
starts going Bruce Almighty.
Yeah. Need to get my couple hours of trolling in.
yeah. I guess it could be. I don't know. It doesn't sound like a hobby to me, though.
No, it doesn't seem like a hobby, but it's just like at that point, why don't you just say like online racism?
Right.
too?
Yeah.
It's just like
Yeah,
this all
exactly.
qualifies.
Yeah. What are your hobbies? Oh, I'm a part of the Klan. Okay.
I like going to clubs.
You give us a nice uniform.
Yeah.
We burn things.
I just want to be part of something.
Yeah.
All right. So the next one, I think we're all going to have a little bit of an issue with gambling.
Well, that's just, there's nothing wrong with that.
It's weird because I find that more addiction than
I don't know about that.
hobby.
No.
And why isn't like drinking or drug use on there?
Well, because none of these things are addictions or problems at all. I think that anybody
I never said they were
they
problems.
can just gamble and
I just said they
drink
were
and use
addictions.
drugs, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. What makes
So
somebody
then why
does
is
those
gambling so bad?
I feel like
Gambling's not bad. Gambling's a great thing.
the reason, like tying into like how some of these other things ended up on the list, is probably a money thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you're just constantly throwing away like your familial money, then yeah, maybe that's an issue.
Well, this
But
is
it's not a
why you
hobby. That's just
Well, if you're
you know.
pulling $250,000 a year
Ah,
and you're throwing away half of it, you know, at the craps table, she's probably not going to be too happy.
You're not throwing it away. You're making calculated investments, and they don't always pay off. But sometimes what you need to do is stay in the game, you know. And women don't always understand that, and that's why you need to keep the money a secret from her. And you got to double down when you lose, because if you don't do that's how you lose. That's how you lose at gambling and at drug addiction. You got to double down, and then you never tell your wife ever. She can never know about that because the losses are so real. It's a real problem.
They're going to take my thumbs.
exposed.
Yeah, what you were saying, Justin, that like the thread of being irresponsible with your
Yeah.
money is kind of like the prevailing factor with video games, collecting figurines.
Irresponsible with your money and irresponsible with time.
Time,
yeah.
I will say, jokes aside, like I don't know that gambling should be on. Like I love to fucking gamble, and it's like I consider it like a hobby to a degree, but it's very like a hobby to me is like something where it's like you're almost like passing the time in like a lighthearted and jovial way. Whereas like gambling to me, and I don't know if I perceive it the same way as everybody else, but it's like gambling to me is kind of like a serious fucking thing where it's like you're going to putting down like some serious money on the fucking table. And also you're drunk. So you got to really think about what the fuck you're doing because it goes fast.
I mean, I could be drunk buying Funko Pops or
I'll bet
playing
that you
Call of
are.
Duty.
I've seen your Funko Pop collection. You must be drunk.
Yeah, I've been drunk playing video games before. You
Yeah.
could be drunk doing all of these
Yeah.
activities.
And you should be.
Maybe not drunk doing magic tricks though. You might saw somebody in half for realsies.
Yeah. Honestly,
Uh,
that sounds more entertaining than whatever trick you were trying
that
to
was
do.
the wrong saw.
It's a lot more blood here than usual. I guess I better just keep it going.
All right, let me put all four of these kind of together.
Yeah.
Because only one of these four kind of makes sense, but we kind of already went over the collecting aspect. So one is collecting comic books.
Yeah.
But the three that I'm like, all right, is this a legit
It's weird.
list? So right after gambling, we have building model trains.
Yeah.
Oh.
Because I too live in 1950.
Well, are we talking N scale, HO scale? What are we doing?
Yeah, right. Fucking exactly.
I don't know what he just said.
Yeah, because you have no interest in trains. We're gonna shift this podcast over real quick.
Uh-oh.
Justin, I would love to have the conversation with you.
The next one, and this is the most bizarre one, I have to say, taxidermy.
Yeah.
Taxidermy. Like that is, I'm sorry, but if your guy does taxidermy as a hobby, run.
Yeah.
He's going to kill you.
Yeah.
That is psychopath behavior.
Or alternatively, Dan, he's going to make something very nice out of your corpse.
Yeah.
That can go either way.
Those
you know?
drapes do match the carpet.
There's a lot of women out there who would love to be beautiful in their coffin. And I don't think we should really rule that out.
I see why women would find this unattractive, especially because most women don't really, some women do like men that hunt.
Yes.
But like, if you're doing taxidermy in either direction, so like, let's say you shot a bear and you want to put his head up on the freaking, on the wall, that's not very attractive to a woman, I would say. And the other way, if you just take like, I don't know, a couple of chipmunks and taxidermy them and put them in little costumes, then yeah, you're
delightful.
probably going to murder your girl.
I gotta say to you, Dan, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. You said taxidermy in either direction.
Yeah.
And my mind went to how you could do taxidermy in reverse.
Oh, I was
And
thinking
let me tell you how dark that was.
It's called the Reanimator.
That was a creepy thought. Yeah.
All right, so we already did comic book collecting, pretty much the same basic principle of collecting figurines. And then, so the last one, this is the one that was the lowest ranking in terms of least attractive. So it got a 50. Video games got a 90. So top of the chart. This
also this is going off of a least a level of unattractiveness.
An unattractiveness score that goes, I guess, all the way to 100.
Yeah. That's made up by some guy on fucking so-called X.
Well, it was made up by somebody on, because I can see the little freaking TikTok watermark.
I think it's actually called X, though. It's not so called.
Oh, God damn it. You're the worst kind of person.
And so the last one is bird watching.
Oh, yeah, that's a real thing, though. Yeah. People are really into that.
Yeah, some people are really into that. Yeah. I, as a proud birdcist, I don't believe in bird watching. I believe in bird killing.
I will say this.
So you'll fall.
I actually, while I was doing the bullshit level of research that I was doing on hobbies today, I spoke with someone just today about the hobbies that they found irritating and popular hobbies and whatnot. And I happened to run into somebody who is very much so aware of this bird watching hobby, like in a legitimate way. And I know that that's like a thing because I always lived like like we all live relatively close to the water. And so like I've seen people like bird watching like in my neighborhood and they've got the giant scope and whatnot. But this person that I was speaking to, they're into bird watching. They're a doctor. They make some decent money. And will literally like in the middle of their like practice kind of scenario, like it's the middle of the workday, like you're, helping a patient kind of scenario. And they have like apps for it where it's like your app alerts you and they're like this bird. And this is actually a real life scenario. So like this just happened about a week ago. They got an alert on their phone that was like this particular bird, which has never been spotted in North America, just landed about 30 miles away.
Oh my God.
Put this in perspective for you guys. This bird landed in Whiting, New Jersey.
Oh.
Right. This person literally walked away from the patient and said, like, I'm going to take the rest of the day off.
God.
Yeah. and like settled their shit that they had to do. And then proceeded to get into their vehicle and drive that distance so that they could go and like, and the bird wasn't like, he didn't even know the bird was going to be there. But like they drove to go and do that. And it's like a whole app scenario.
God, it's like real life Pokemon.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And I don't like my question when I was having this conversation earlier was like, why birds? Because like I think like I know Dan, you hate birds.
Yes.
But like I don't particularly hate any one animal. But like I don't like I mean to me it's like why not squirrels? Like all animals are kind of like they're interesting to watch.
It's more because of the different variations there are of birds
That's
as
what I was
opposed to
gonna
like
say.
squirrels or chipmunks.
I like on the one hand, I do kind of want to agree because I do think that there is like an observable difference that it appears to be more it's more observable in birds, let's say.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like all animals are different from each other. in a measurable way. So I don't really understand where the bird thing comes into play, other than that maybe it's that they have to travel such far distances, they can travel such far distances, and that leads to like the rarity of like a squirrel's not going to randomly show up in Whiting, New Jersey, and it would have had to have gotten there, so you would have seen it along the way.
Yeah.
Whereas a bird can like land there and nobody knew.
Yeah, and it's not native to that kind of area.
Right.
So,
But getting back to it, it's like first of all, the dedication, and two, the money that goes into that. So, and that's something that I would actually like to talk about, where it's like the difference in hobbies in terms of what you need to spend versus not. Some hobbies are cheap and some are expensive. And I never knew this until today, but the bird thing, that sometimes these people who are into birds, and they tend to be the people who have the money to go and fucking like basically take a day off of work or longer to go and watch birds, which again, I don't fucking understand at all. But this same person would randomly be like, oh, just got the message, I got to go to Turkey.
oh, to see that red-breasted warbler?
Exactly. I'll be back in a week. That's not a thing that a normal person can do. Just be like, oh, you know what? Bird landed on the other side of the planet. I'm going to spend about $10,000 and I'll see you in a week. That's not a normal thing.
Yeah, that's
an expensive hobby.
That's way more expensive than buying a PlayStation 5.
Oh, yeah.
But it's also the like part of gambling. Like you might not even see, like, yeah, that bird has been reported there, but you might not see it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a gamble. You're gambling.
That's a gamble
money,
by itself. Yeah.
Yeah. How quickly do you have to get to Turkey to
Yeah.
see this bird?
I know.
Because birds are quite mobile.
I asked the same fucking question. I have no idea how this hobby works.
It's only there at 5:03 in the morning
Yeah.
on Thursdays, so you got to get quick.
Yeah. So I will steel man at least this list, and any woman who's like, nah, bird watching is off the table for me. Like, I'm not dropping my panties for any bird watchers. Like, yeah, no, I would not want to be involved in a relationship with anybody that does that. So yeah, ladies, I think you're right on that one.
I bet they're kinky though. The bird watchers, they're into some like sex
I
shit.
thought you meant the birds. I was like, wow, this is like a weird path.
Well, I mean, we did watch those Blue Jays have a three-way, but that was
sensual.
it was up in Toronto.
What the fuck?
What I'll say about this
Baseball
list
jokes.
is I obviously there's a lot of bias in this if the list is real in the first place. What people find to be unattractive, and specifically when we're talking about like hobbies that women find unattractive, I feel like that's got to be directly correlated with what are you doing instead of what I wanted you to do.
Yeah.
It's not really about the hobby, and I say that as somebody where, once again, it's like I look at, it's like, and I've said this to you, Moses, I love both your balls, but it's like I look at things that I like, hobbies that I don't have, and if that's what you're doing with your day, then I'll like kind of snub my nose at it. So I am like that with gaming for sure. I'm like that with some things. I used to enjoy comic books and a certain level of collecting. So I got to measure how I bust somebody's balls about that, because I don't want to I don't want somebody to be able to recognize like what a hypocrite I am.
You know where I got most of my comics? From him.
Shut up. But I think that a lot of it is just like what, if the list is what women find unattractive, it's going to be what's occupying your time instead of what they want you to be doing.
Yeah.
Which is their time.
So it could be, exactly. It could be fucking anything.
Yeah.
That said, as far as like, I was really thinking about this, thus my journey today of trying to figure out these other hobbies. Because it's like, I was thinking to myself, I was like, what hobbies do I find irritating in women?
Yeah.
And I'm still scratching in my mind. So like, please, if anybody's
I have a few. One that I didn't jot down that should probably be in my top 5. If you are a Swiftie, I kind of find that unattractive because it is all over the goddamn place. Like if you're like hardcore, like into her music, so much so that you are like, let's just say you set up a dating profile and you want to know what what heterosexual males are, their favorite Taylor Swift songs are. I'm here to tell you, they don't exist.
Dan, I'm going to be honest.
That's not true. There's a lot of liars out there, Dan.
For the first 10 seconds,
I'm a Swiftie.
I didn't even know what the hell you were talking about until you said Taylor
Swifties,
Swift.
yeah,
Okay.
Swifties, yeah. They call themselves Swifties.
Yeah.
They're
Lovely.
Kansas City fans, right?
No.
What's that?
Kansas City fans.
Oh, that's a different thing. That would be like me asking a woman and expecting an actual answer, what your favorite Rush song is.
Right,
The
right.
answer is none. The answer is I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Yeah, my wife hates Rush. In which case I learned a lot more words to their songs.
I think that while I was trying to look this up before, somebody who, they said it as succinctly as they could for me personally. While I was trying to figure out, like, what are the hobbies that, you dislike in your spouse, partner, whatever. And somebody said, the hobby that I dislike most in my spouse is the one that they want me to participate in.
Yeah.
And that's so fucking real because my hobbies are for me.
Yeah.
Which also means that nobody should have any problem with them because you never fucking need to participate in them. And I never want for you to because my hobby is for me.
Yeah, but you're not doing the thing I want to do, so now it's a problem.
Yeah. You're talking to my soul, right?
Yeah. All I want you to do is come collect Funko Pops with me and comic books, and you're like, oh, I want to build a canoe.
No. I'm going to put those Funko Pops right in the trash.
I'm going to put you in the trash.
I will say, upon thinking about it earlier, this is not a solid answer, but trying to really think about like what hobbies that other people have do annoy me. I'll predicate this with a little bit. I think that fitness and like, trying to exercise and things like that, that's good.
Yeah.
I every now and again, I do a little bit of that myself.
Yeah.
I think those are positive things. I dislike in general, just like in other people where they don't affect me at all. I dislike the hobby of exercise.
Interesting.
I dislike when I'm driving on the road and somebody's jogging.
How are
And it's
you
not
friends
because-
with me?
Yeah. Dan, because you're a handsome man and I love you.
That's only because he works out.
The hobby of exercise. So I don't have a problem with exercising. I think that exercising and like being into that, that's cool.
Yeah.
But when exercising is like your genuine hobby, like it's a part of your personality in a fundamental way. And I know that I'm calling you out a little bit, Dan. I still love you. But like when I'm driving on the road, even when somebody isn't in my way and they're just like jogging, but it's like, they're not like just jogging like in a hoodie or whatever, where I'm like, oh, cool. You're like doing your thing. But it's like you're jogging, you've got all the gear on. And I do know the nuances where it's like, yes, you're supposed to wear like reflective gear and this and that, but like you're doing a thing. And I feel like you're like saying something to the world. Like in other words, like your hobby
Look at me.
is a way of identifying who you are. Like my hobby is like, I like doing woodworking, I guess is what I would say is one of my hobbies. And so like I enjoy that. But like it's not advertised. I'm not like telling everyone that when I go to the bar. I'm like making a point out of it. I tell you that every single time I see you.
Yeah, and it's always at a bar, and you're telling other people that.
I know because I want people to love me.
You know what's really, really funny about that though? So during the COVID lockdowns, they closed all the gyms, and this is in like the peak of my working out. So I just worked out from home, but it was nice out. It was March, April, so I'm like, no, I'm gonna work out outside. I was living in northern New Jersey where it's nut to butt practically in terms of property. I would go out to the backyard of our apartment building and like start working out, like push-ups, burpees, like handstands or whatever the heck.
A lot of MILFs sweating their fucking bullets.
I went across the street was an auto shop / gas station. And I went there one time just to fill up the tank. And the dude who was filling up my tank was like, hey, you're that guy that's always working out. And I'm like, this is the exact opposite of my personality.
Now you look good. You look good. What's your name?
Yeah.
I don't want to be known for anything, really.
Hey, sailor.
Let alone the guy who's working out like right on like the major road of this town.
I'm just imagining like some burly guy and he uses that oily rag to like wipe the sweat off his brow. He's like, so what are you doing later?
Puts it on as an ascot.
I have to say too, while we're still on this, there was one time, like again during the lockdowns, I went for a run. So I was going from essentially it was a shorter run. It was like 2 miles or so, but I was running
back and forth in front of that gas station.
I debate on whether to get up to go to the refrigerator. 2 miles, my ass.
But I was going from like pretty much the end of the town that I was in to like the beginning of another town and then back. And so on the beginning of this run, some guy I don't know if this was 100% what was going on, but it seemed like he was draped in caution tape.
Okay.
Interesting.
Like a walking crime scene.
Yeah, like a walking crime scene on his bike. And he was like cheering me on, like in the opposite direction. I'm like, am I crazy like this man just for going for a run? Like,
Yeah.
what is happening
Yes,
in this
yes.
moment?
Well, where you live, there's a bunch of crazies there regardless. So
Yeah.
that's bound to happen, even if you're just going into the liquor store.
Sorry. All this is
I
just,
can't even.
it's bouncing around in my head now. It's just crazy.
So I will tack on to what you were saying, whatever the hell your name was in this episode.
You don't know my name.
Oh yeah, you're Hunter Biden. That's
Yeah.
right. Hunter
It's a fake name.
Biden.
No one can know that I'm here.
We're paying him.
If my father found out,
Oh yeah, do you have any crack?
yeah, of course I have crack.
Oh, all right.
I'm not going to share it with
You
you.
want some of this?
I'm fucking rich. Get your own fucking crack.
Well, that's why I
I
need your
said
crack.
I'm rich.
You want some of this insulin?
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah.
Going off of that, number 2 on my annoying hobbies list and / unattractive. This would probably be the most unattractive of the hobbies. Would be bodybuilding, because you're taking essentially what is the natural beauty of the female form and really crafting it into something more masculine. So that's why it would really be like
But
unattractive.
does it go
Like,
the same way with men? Like,
I don't know. I'm not a chick, so I wouldn't be able to tell you if they find
I'll
that
chime in
unattractive.
on that. I feel like so for myself, I'll tie that in with like the exercise thing. I think that again, like working out, cool. Being too into it is unattractive to me in anybody.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I think it's like cool to do your thing, you know, and be
Yeah.
in good shape, blah, blah, blah. But you can be too into it to where it like is a part of your personality.
but I think that's what
Like,
the
in other words-
issue is with all of these things on the list, is that whomever is participating in them is way too into it.
yeah, it's basically an addiction thing.
Yeah.
You know, I think that you should exercise because you want to, because it's good for you, because XYZ, but that it shouldn't necessarily be a part of your personality. You know, that's a separation. And I've like dated some girls who were like big into like the actual like weightlifting part of it, and they were very proud of it. And I found it mostly unattractive.
Yeah.
You know, that was my personal feeling about it. But I like dated a girl where she was like, oh yeah, I just got out of the gym. You want to hang out? And I was like, absolutely, I would. And she's like, yeah. And she shows up, and I'm like, how'd your day go? And what's that?
Does she shower before coming over? Or?
Yeah, she has to. I'm not into that.
I don't know if she has to.
yeah. That's the thing.
All right.
But regardless, she goes, I'm like, how's your day? And she goes, it's good. I deadlifted, 400 pounds. And I'm like, wow, that's like 100 pounds more than I can deadlift. and I might be giving myself a little boost there.
So you're just afraid.
Yeah. And it's just like, I don't know. I just don't, I feel like it's when it's done for a reason that correlates with some sort of addiction where you're trying to fill some gap that exists in your psyche. I think that is unattractive to me.
Yeah, a lot of this is what we're messing around with here is also like you got hobby, but when that hobby becomes like lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well said. Yeah, because it's like what I consider to be my hobbies. It's like I can just do them, and then I can not do them, and it's not a big deal. And like, are they a part of like my personality? To a degree, yeah. But they're not important to my personality. You know, in other words, like my hobbies that I think that I have, if I don't do them for months on end, it doesn't really register. You know, if I don't do my job for months on end, then I am broke. So that's a real thing. You know,
And then there are definitely no hobbies.
and then there's no hobbies at all. Yeah. Then it's just crack.
Then I'm collecting cans.
Exactly. But yeah, so I kind of treat it in that way, I think. And so getting back to that, I think that's a hobby where I feel like when that hobby is acquired, it's built up over time. It goes from the gym thing to you're kind of doubling down on everything. And I don't like that. I find obsession to be unattractive. And I think that maybe when women look at it, they're looking at it in maybe your average woman, let's say, they're looking at it in a very practical manner where it's like, you're not doing the things that I want you to do, that you need to do around the house, or you're wasting a lot of money on gambling or video games or whatever.
Yeah.
And I look at it as from my personal perspective, where I'm just like, you shouldn't be obsessed with anything. You know, you should do these things because you actually enjoy them. Like your hobby should be your hobby, and it's like, so you can just fucking do it or not do it. And it doesn't really fucking matter. It's kind of like a thing that you do in your downtime so that you're a little bit active. So you have something to do. It's like, to me, a hobby is something that like occupies boredom. Whereas I think that a lot of these things that are described in this list they're not things that necessarily occupy boredom for everybody. they're actually like habits. And a habit's very different from a thing that occupies boredom.
Yeah.
That's my sentiment.
It's funny that you mentioned that too, because when I was cross-referencing the list that we went over with other lists that, appear on the internet, there are natural things that are redundancies on those lists, like gambling was on there, video games was on there. But most of them came with that qualifier that it's not so much, for some of these things. One of these things says animal fighting, which is hilarious.
Wow. A lot of people into dogfighting.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
that's
Who
definitely a
are
turn
these
off.
women dating?
Yeah.
And where can I find these women?
And also, this one on this site also says day drinking. So I'm shit out of luck.
Well, that's just fucked up.
Yeah.
There's no reason.
But here's another one, which would also put me in the fucked pile. Sports. But it's also not so much watching the occasional game. It's more so like you're obsessed with it. Like you have to you can't miss a game. You're freaking out during the plays and all that
Sports
stuff.
obsession is real.
Yeah, and you can't wash your underwear or else the team won't win.
They won't win.
And then your wife goes and washes those pairs of underwear.
And you have to divorce her.
Yeah.
We were talking to some of the girls before we started podcasting, and that was one of the things that they brought up.
Yeah.
It's not like, you sit down and you watch a game from time to time or whatever the case may be. One of the complaints was like, you have to see every game. It's like you're glued to your phone. It's like, I have to know what's going on with all the,
And it was
the college games.
college games, which there's a billion of.
It's the obsession of it. And I know you're very into watching these things, Dan, but it's like, I genuinely, I would tie in with that, where it's like, I enjoy watching football, for example.
Yeah.
I enjoy watching that. But if first of all, I have no idea who the fuck is playing when. So it's like, to me, it's all lost, But like, if it's a good game on, then I'm very happy to watch it. And that's very fun for me. But I don't feel compelled to watch it. And I could see how that's very irritating. Because again, it goes back to habits, rituals, addictions, and so on and so forth. I don't have that with sports, but I could see how that would be very annoying for a female.
Well, it's also, it kind of blends in with gambling too, with all the they
can
betting.
often go hand in hand.
Yeah. So
it's addictions.
Yeah, when you're doing your fantasy team or whatever, that's another thing that I can't stand when people talk about man or female.
Right.
Male or female, I can't freaking stand that, because it's just like, that guy's on my fantasy team. Like, I don't give a shit about your fantasy team. I care about the real team that's playing right now. And if it's not even one of my teams, if it's not Navy or the Dolphins or something, I'm like, then I don't really care all that much. I just want to see what happens in this game.
Yeah, I have guys I work with, and it's all they do. They come up and I don't care. People just talk at me all the time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I got this parlay going on with this. And it's like, that's all they're doing. They're just dropping these wild bets just for the sake of betting on sports. Because they have to. It's compulsion.
That's compulsion.
Yeah.
Well.
So I see that, but most of the time these things are all going with obsession.
Yes.
Another one, work. So that's not so much a hobby because it's work and you're getting paid. Yeah. But if you're obsessed with work, you're not allowing yourself to use any of your PTO. Yeah, it becomes an addiction. If you're bringing your laptop with you on vacation, that becomes a problem.
Man, Moses got called out 4 times. I'll say that my lady does not like the degree to which I am engaged with work. I don't, naturally, as somebody who has an addiction, I do not identify it that way.
No, you can quit anytime.
I can stop at any time that I want, Moses. But I will say that while I do absolutely engage in that, for myself, it's like, because again, when you have an addiction or whatever it is, I justify the degree to which I work in my mind in this very specific way, and I don't find it to be problematic. The lady does. She does not like.
That means it's problematic.
You're also a business owner, though. You don't go show up and clock in 9 to 5.
No,
it is
exactly.
Intrinsically.
This is how I justify it as
well.
Yeah, it's my life and my work are very much so intertwined. That said, I mean, could I just take a little bit of time off? Then yes, that's certainly possible. But I don't want to because there is that element where it's like I really do enjoy what I do. And so I want to engage in the work as, not more than I want to, but not less than I want to. And I treat it the same way with everything where it's like, when I go and fucking play craps at the table, It's like I want to do it the amount that I want to do it, and then I want to not do it anymore, because I've lost all of my money. Now I have to go and do the other habit of work.
I get that. And with the work things, like, I've already done as much as I want. I would like to not do it anymore.
Yeah.
But here I am doing it.
Is this work for you?
A little bit.
3 more that were on these lists that I
Yeah.
just kind of want. I'll package these together. They're not similar, but they're just things that like we'll pretty much find the thread in these. One is cars.
Yeah, okay.
That's a collecting thing.
That's a
too.
collective.
Yeah.
The other thing is vaping, which hobby?
It's not a hobby. It's an addiction straight up.
You might as well just say heroin. Yeah. That's kind of unattractive.
And the other one is dating. Like if you're a guy and you
Oh, you're
just
like a
date
serial
as
dater?
a serial dater,
Interesting.
which I guess like some of these you could say.
I mean, I suppose if you're your spouse and you're mad at your spouse
Yeah.
for serial dating, that is an
Yeah.
issue.
Unless you have something already preordained before that marriage
He's
is
constantly out on dates. That's fair. That's fair.
She's right to be
I
upset.
got 3 kids at home. Niggas out on dates.
Oh my
Player's
god.
got to play.
All right, so let's go back to the hobbies that we find annoying or unattractive in women. I actually crafted a list. If you guys want to hear,
Please,
it.
I would.
I took
would.
the time.
I took the time. So number 5 is arts and crafts. I find this to be annoying because I edit and work like
You're right.
I do shit creatively all fucking day.
Mhm.
So the last thing I want to do if I go on a date with a girl is to do it, but like I'm crocheting something or
I want to say 2 things about this then. I want to jump in here. One is that I'm going to repeat what I said before, which is that your hobby is for you. So it shouldn't need to involve anybody else. And in fact, I don't think that anybody else should be involved in your hobby. So therefore, arts and crafts to me is actually, because I thought about this before, I went to a fucking Hobby Lobby to do research. And it's all a bunch of bullshit and crocheting and knitting and whatever. And I was like, and I thought to myself, I was like, man, if my lady was just doing this bullshit all day, that's awesome. Because I don't have to talk to her.
You'd also have a bunch of blankets.
Yeah.
And
I would have so many blankets. Oh my God, I'd never be cold. It's just it's just winning. It's just winning all day.
no stains
But-
on the coffee table because there's doilies galore.
Oh my God. I don't know how to use them, but yes. But that said, if you have to take part in
in
that,
it,
that's different. But I feel like that's where I draw the line then, because I feel like you shouldn't have to take part in anybody else's hobby.
yeah, a lot of these on the list is like I assume the woman would want me involved.
Mm.
The reason I put arts and crafts in there is because I was seeing a chick up when I was closer to Manhattan. We went out in Manhattan proper, and she was like, "Oh, let's do arts and crafts." And I had such a like skin of my teeth type day. Like I was barely getting the show out and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't have the mental, like I don't have the cognitive faculties right now to do any of that. I just want to drink and have a conversation. Can we just do that? Can we just do that?
Just the words falling out of your mouth right there put a chill down my spine.
I was feeling a certain way.
What kind of arts and crafts were they?
I don't know. We didn't do it. I put my foot down, and I never saw that girl again
Well, because you wouldn't do the arts and crafts.
Wow.
because I wouldn't do the arts and crafts.
Arts and crafts is code.
All right, so number 4, and this is really funny the way I wrote this down. I wrote community and in parentheses anything, but but specifically community theater because then
wow.
I definitely have to face the whirlwind in that. I have to go
What is community theater?
when they do like a bunch of people in the community go and do like
Perform plays.
perform plays
Wow.
or musicals and shit
Who
like that.
does that?
I don't.
Every community kind of has one of
Yeah.
those.
Don't
things,
say every community may. Is that a real answer?
That's the real thing. There's like they have. I know in this town, I pass by
the
billboards
signs all
for
the
it
time,
all
yeah.
the time, saying, "Oh, they're doing this at." I think they do it at the high school predominantly.
I think
Maybe sometimes at the college.
I mean, but that's like I see the children's one advertised.
It is
around here.
typically children, but I know there's others
I-
because there's the groundlings and like comedy groups.
easy.
too.
You're really taking a jump there.
But that's kind of what that started as, and
Sure.
it blew up because of all the talent that came
I
out
know
of it.
some adults that do this out by Trenton. I mean, they're not friends; they're like neighbors, but like they do it. It seems insane to me because like it's for what? Just to act for
Yeah,
the
why?
thrill of the stage?
Yeah.
Like
Why?
what is this?
Yeah.
It's
I
a
don't get
different rush than like that you would get from any other hobby. You still get that dopamine fix of sorts.
I guess.
Yeah, fair. I guess.
Yeah, don't drag me.
Yeah.
Don't drag me
Yeah.
to that goddamn theater.
Well,
I
that's-
don't want to hear you do freaking anything, really.
That's that's what I'm saying. It's like that your hobby should be a lot of these like grievances. Because like again, I really thought about like what hobbies bother me. And I like your guys' hobbies are wherever they are.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
I thought like Moses, I'll call you out again. You collect Funko Pops. And I think that's stupid. And that's not my thing. But like it doesn't bother me because it doesn't affect me. Because you do your
just
thing.
do it.
Yeah, you do your thing and it doesn't affect me.
I don't call you up and like, hey, check out this chase I got.
Yo, Pete, I'm fucking like I'm holed up in a fucking jail right now. I made a bad Funko deal. I need you to come and scoop me up. And also, I owe 20 grand. So like, we got a day. You know,
I
it
haven't-
doesn't happen.
It hasn't happened yet.
That did happen actually. That was a bad day.
Most of the like, even when I was really collecting Funko Pops, and I would do like these Facebook market kind of things, most of them were women.
Yeah.
Whether they were just selling their boyfriend or
Right,
husband
right.
shit, or it
Yeah.
was theirs.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's
You
hard
got a
to
lot
tell,
of guys
but
who are looking for you right now.
I'm right here.
Fortunately, they're all nerds.
You can find me on the Loud and Drunk podcast.
I
Smash
just-
that like button.
I feel like it's all about like what actually affects you. And like for myself, it's that other people's hobbies just don't really like they don't have any influence on my life, you know? So I feel like it doesn't really
Nor
fucking
should
matter.
they. Yeah.
Nor should they, exactly.
Like-
yeah. So people should have whatever stupid fucking
I
hobbies
think
they
it's
have.
okay to like for the day, like, yeah, you ask the other person, like, oh, you want to go paint mugs or whatever that is, drink wine and paint
Is that a
paintings
euphemism?
or something. There's some kind of thing like that. I
I'm
can't remember what
interested
it
in
is.
painting mugs. If that's it.
There is, yeah,
Are we
there's
talking
a-
about the same thing?
It's a thing.
Okay.
And
All right.
there's
I
one
feel
in
like that's a
Tom-
yes,
there's
yeah.
one in Tom's River. I'll show it to you. We'll go.
Painting mugs.
I think it's mugs, maybe paintings, but I know there's drinking wine
Are
involved.
we talking about the same thing?
Maybe.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, it's
I'm
fine
into
to
it.
ask
You're
the
making
other
eyes at
person.
me right now.
Mr. Biden, would you please control yourself?
I'm sorry, I haven't smoked. He told me I couldn't smoke crack,
You want to smoke
and
this?
now he's. Nah, I already got that.
All right, so number 3, I had to combine these two because I actually just thought of this on the fly as well. I have volunteering/activism because if you're going to these protests, you're not home doing what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
You're kind of wasting time doing something, making no real difference. Because,
Goes back to that you're not home, you're not doing the things you're supposed to do.
and also, I will add to this too, there's going to be, if I don't go, a little bit of a cloud of judgment hanging over me when you get home.
100%, yeah. Also, I mean, I'll like my only opinion about that, be outside of that, you're not home, you're not doing anything.
Yeah.
Activism, it just implies to me like it's a certain type of person.
Yeah.
And it's then that by itself is unappealing to me.
Yeah.
But maybe not to everybody.
No, I understand that part.
I guess there's somebody for everyone, but
Wow.
that look at me kind of
Are you an
person.
activist?
I am actively smoking right now.
That's true. Oh. Is that that's not
Does that
crack,
count?
though.
This
No.
is not
All right.
crack, no.
All right.
Number 2, we already talked about bodybuilding.
Mm.
And the first one is, again, we've been talking about obsession this whole time. So this is my little qualifier to it. Social media obsession. If you got a
yeah.
girl that's always constantly on Facebook or Instagram or
An
TikTok,
influencer.
always taking everywhere you go, got to take a selfie. That's annoying.
I will say I didn't think of this. I'm actually glad that you said that. I dislike social media in general.
Yeah.
I see the value that it has, but I dislike when anybody, male, female, whatever, my spouse, the other, the intrigue that people have with it, where they need to show off what they're doing and expose it, I guess, to the world.
It's all chasing, like, look at me. You want those likes. You want the just.
It's very unappealing.
I see it all the time. I mean, because we kind of came up like before social media as it is today, and like are definitely in it now. And it's like some people just got sucked into it.
Listen, I had a MySpace.
Yeah, I remember the fights that used to go on because, oh, I'm not in your top 10 friends on MySpace.
Well, first of all, as long as Tom's there, then you're good.
I hate that guy.
No.
But like it is like one of those things where it becomes like a lifestyle. It's like everything. It's just nonstop, and it's like, what do you do? How do you have time for
you're
this?
always constantly getting like ready to take a picture in front of a place that sucks.
Yeah.
Like we're at the shittiest bar in town. Why do you look like you're going to a 5-star restaurant? Like, for the love of fuck, honey, can we tone it down?
I just
There
want to eat
was-
this shitty meal.
Yeah.
There was somebody when we went to go, when me and my wife were in Vegas. It was like there were fountains inside Caesar's Palace,
Sure.
or whatever. And this girl sets up a tripod camera in the middle of the walkway, and she goes over by the fountain and is just like posing. And it's like, you're taking up half of this fucking walkway, and there's a lot of people there because it was like nighttime and there was a concert starting soon. It's like, get the fuck out of the way because nobody wants to look at you.
Well, it's like
Bitch,
this.
you ugly.
You got people showing up with tripods. If you go to any like major metropolitan, how many people have those sticks with the cameras on the end?
Yeah.
Camera
Yeah.
stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's narcissism. It's just
Yeah.
in front of everybody, narcissism. It's
Yeah.
on the full display
Yeah,
for everyone to see.
It's-
Like, I
it's
get it if you're a dime, but also at the same time,
I don't
like,
get it if you're a dime. Fuck
Yeah,
you.
that's true too.
Fuck you. It doesn't matter who you are. The bottom line is that type of behavior, that type of vanity.
Yeah, it's still narcissism.
Yeah.
Even if you're a dime, it's still narcissism. But
Yeah.
it's like, I kind of get it because, listen, it's standard issue for a hot blonde to automatically have 1 million followers on Instagram. And if you're a hot blonde and you don't have that, then you're doing something wrong. But
My sentiment about it is along the lines of like, all right, great, you're attractive.
Yeah.
You know how many attractive people there are in this fucking world?
Two.
I don't give a shit. Yeah, two.
I thought it was two.
pretty faces are a dime a dozen.
Yeah,
What's going on
exactly.
up here?
A lot of beautiful people in this world. Doesn't fucking matter. None of that matters. You're just an asshole.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, I look at it as like, that's sad to have to go in that direction with it.
Yeah, it's also it's trying to form a relationship with somebody like that. Like, if they give you the silent treatment, but you can still see they're hyperactive on
Right,
like
right.
social media, you're like, bitch, what is you doing?
Just got left on red.
Yeah.
Oh God, I'm so glad I never had to deal with like pretty much any of these things we talked about. I'm like,
Yeah.
it just sounds like an absolute nightmare.
So, guys, do you have anything in terms of unattractive hobbies or annoying hobbies?
No, I think mostly what I said, it's like when you are like when the thing becomes like the lifestyle, you become that thing and that's all you have to talk about.
Yeah.
That's what drives me insane.
That's
The obsession aspect.
I'll chime in with that as well, where it's basically to repeat what Justin just said, where it's like, for myself, what I find unattractive in people, not just women, but anybody, where it's like where that really defines you. For myself, like as I mentioned before, it's like it's the runner, the cyclist, the whatever, where this is who I am. And like, and you need to like respect me above other people because I do this.
Oh,
And
vegans.
I don't know what the fuck you're doing. You know, but I kind of treat it in that way. I don't find that very appealing.
Good thing I'm not trying to earn your respect, Hunter Biden.
Are you a cyclist?
Just get out of the road.
You also said runner.
Yeah. Oh, you run? Yeah, you want to talk about it?
Not that type of running.
Oh, okay. I mean, I can talk about the other content.
Can you?
Yeah, I can make it work.
Uh,
Yeah. He's a good-looking man.
yeah. He was one of the two I was talking about.
Oh,
No.
okay. All right.
My stars.
Yeah, Dan's getting a little heated now.
Moses, you got anything in terms of annoying or unattractive hobbies that you find in women?
Yeah, I can pretty much roll with kind of whatever. Like it does get annoying, but it's like whatever. I know everything I do is annoying too, so
It is.
you know.
It is.
Well, the one thing that I kind of wanted to say for the end too is, out of all of these things, the prevailing thing that I heard from women, and I also saw on some of these lists as well, is more than anything, it's better to have one of these hobbies than to have no hobbies whatsoever.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, I don't even know what that is like. What do you?
I'm literally trying to wrap
having
my
no
head
hobbies.
around it. And I can't.
I
even-
just
So-
come home from work and then sit down and sleep sitting up, I
I've
imagine.
heard this is something that I kind of like. I thought that I like tried to touch upon it before, but when I was having this conversation with a few females trying to like feel out what they found to be unattractive, it's right in that same vein where it was that they had the sentiment of what I don't want more than anything. Like, your hobbies are your hobbies,
Yeah.
whether I like them or not. What I don't want is a guy who's going to follow me around and be like, What are you doing?
Yeah. That's especially for girls too. That is the most unattractive thing that you can do. It's like, hey,
yeah.
hey.
Yeah. I'm not
Puppy
doing
dog.
anything. So what are you doing? You crocheting? Can you teach me?
For the love of God, go play a video game.
Go play a fucking video game.
Isn't there some whore you could go bang? I'm trying to crochet here.
Literally anything about what you're doing.
Yeah. Can't you just go find a date for God's sake?
Yeah. I'm done.
All right. Well, I think we kind of tackled everything we wanted to tackle in this episode in terms of unattractive hobbies. Ladies, if you listen to this episode and you think we're the two of them that actually listen to this. We're kind of like the Rush of podcasts.
Yeah.
Like women who listen to this podcast, where?
Hey, these invisible airwaves crackle with light, Dan.
Not so cruelly charted.
Oh, wow.
That's as far as I could get with that one.
Yeah.
It's really just
no one to fold them, brother.
it's really just a question of your honesty, Moses. Yeah, your honesty. So ladies, be honest with us. If you think we got a few things wrong, maybe we didn't steel man your position, let us know in the comments section on social media. We'd love to hear from you. And guys, if you have an unattractive hobby that you find in women, also let us know. And you can do all of that first and foremost by subscribing to this podcast. Leave us a 5-star review. Check us out on YouTube and Rumble. Make sure that you like, comment, share, and hit that notification bell. Follow us on social media. We are at Loud and Drunk on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. If you enjoyed this podcast, then become a Loud and Drunk supporter at patreon.com/loud and drunk. So for Moses, Justin, and Hunter Biden, you can start getting blowjobs and do crack again.
I'm gonna.
You don't have to worry about Joe Biden anymore.
I didn't worry about anything.
A crack pipe just descended from the ceiling.
The holy crack pipe.
No, I
Your
think
tax dollars at work, then.
I think it's a hydraulic system. But
I'm Dan, and until next time, bitches please.
Yeah.